Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into a specific devotional from Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, dated August 20th. It's got a really bold theme, nothing can stop us. So our mission really is to unpack what that means according to this text. We'll look at the scriptures it uses, the core ideas, and the practical advice it offers for, well, dealing with things that try to stop you.
Right. And what's fascinating here, I think, is how it offers this very particular spiritual viewpoint on resilience. It's not just about facing challenges, but about having a framework rooted in Scripture for pushing through them.
Exactly. A framework. So the core premise right out of the gate is pretty striking. It basically says the church, the gospel,
Yeah.
they're meant to be unstoppable, period.
Yeah, unstoppable. It's a strong declaration.
It really is, like an inherent quality.
And it doesn't just state that. It points to Scripture pretty quickly. Acts 28, verses 30 and 31. That's the opening reference.
The bit about Paul.
Exactly. Paul under house arrest, essentially, in his own hired place for 2 years. But he's receiving everyone, preaching about the kingdom, teaching about Jesus Christ. And here's the line. With all confidence, no man forbidding him.
No man forbidding him, even under guard.
Precisely. So the devotional uses this as like a foundational image, you know? The circumstances might look limiting, but the proclamation itself, unhindered.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Unhindered proclamation as the ideal. But then the devotional must talk about the things that do try to hinder, right? The stopping forces.
Oh, absolutely. It gets quite specific about the opposition.
What kind of things does it mention?
Well, first it talks about people with an antichrist spirit. That's the term it uses. People who actively set themselves against the church and the gospel.
Okay, is that just a general idea or?
No, it gives concrete examples. Things like obnoxious laws, threats, certain systems, even what it calls evil structures. Basically anything designed to silence or obstruct the message.
So tangible opposition.
Yeah.
Laws, systems.
Right, and it connects this pattern, this resistance, back to Psalm 2, you know, where it says, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed.
That historical opposition idea.
Exactly. And it also brings in that imagery from Matthew 16, the gates of hell.
Yeah. The gates of hell shall not prevail.
Right. And the devotional interprets those gates not just as, you know, a place, but as representing these collective forces, these structures of opposition trying to block progress.
So a pretty clear picture of the conflict. On one side, this unstoppable force, and on the other, these very real, sometimes organized opposing forces.
That's the dynamic it sets up.
Yet, despite naming all that opposition, the devotional insists these forces lack the power to stop God's kingdom advancing. That's a huge claim. How does it back that up? What's the basis for that confidence?
It leans heavily on Scripture for that conviction, going back to that Psalm 2 passage. After describing the rulers plotting, it highlights the next line. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision.
So a kind of divine perspective, seeing the opposition as ultimately futile.
That's the sense, yes. Like God's viewing it from a position of ultimate victory. Then there are more direct promises quoted. Isaiah 54.17.
No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. That one.
That's the one. A direct promise of protection and ineffectiveness of opposition. And crucially, back to Matthew 16.18, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
Right. Not just survive, but not prevail against it.
Exactly. The devotional really emphasizes that prevail aspect. It portrays the church as actively marching on, making the opposition seem almost defensive. It says, there's no force on earth or from hell that can prevail against it. Strong stuff.
Okay, so the declaration is clear. The backing is there in Scripture according to the text. But how does this translate into action? For someone facing, one of those obnoxious laws or just general resistance.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting, I think. What's the strategy?
Right, the how-to. The devotional is quite practical here. It starts with a clear command. We can't be quiet.
Can't be quiet.
No. It references 1 Corinthians 9.16, necessity is laid upon us to preach the gospel. It frames it almost as an obligation born out of, well, joy.
Joy.
Yeah, it says the gospel is too precious and the joy too overwhelming to keep to ourselves. So the motivation isn't just duty, it's this positive compulsion.
Okay, so speak up. What about when that opposition hits? Fear seems like a natural reaction.
It addresses that directly. When opposition arises, we don't worry or give in to fear. That's the instruction. Easier said than done, maybe, but that's the mindset.
So resist fear. Then what? What's the method?
Prayer. But it's presented as more than just asking for help. Prayer is where you get divine wisdom, insight, and solutions. It's positioned as the key operational center, if you like.
The place you strategize.
Sort of, yeah. And gain strength. It talks about being strengthened with might by God's Spirit in our inner being. This inner strengthening is crucial. And this leads to what it calls the core strategy. It's summed up quite powerfully. As long as we keep the fight on our knees, we're unstoppable.
On our knees. So prayer as the battleground.
Exactly. It explicitly calls this our strategy, our strength, and our advantage. Not passive waiting, but active spiritual engagement through prayer.
And this applies now.
Very much so. It urges, in these last days, preach the gospel without holding back. And how? With confidence in the demonstration of the Spirit and power, nothing and no man forbidding us. Echoing that opening verse about Paul.
Right, bringing a full circle. Confidence, power, unstoppable.
Is there a specific big picture goal mentioned for right now tied to this theme?
Yes, there is. A very ambitious one. The devotional states, this year we're completing the full preaching of the gospel to all nations.
Completing it this year. Wow. Okay. That definitely fits the unstoppable theme.
It certainly provides a massive concrete objective for that forward momentum. So what does this all mean? Let's try to synthesize. We've looked at this devotional's message. This powerful idea of unshakable progress. It identifies opposition, real stuff, laws, systems, but declares it ultimately powerless based on Scripture. And the strategy isn't about meeting force with physical force, but this intense focus on inner strength, overcoming fear, and strategic prayer. Prayer as the key advantage.
That sums it up well. The conviction, the scriptural basis, and then the practical spiritual strategy.
Okay, so we've taken a deep dive today into Nothing Can Stop Us.
Yeah.
We've looked at how this devotional lays out a really potent framework for, well, unwavering purpose and a unique kind of resilience. It's quite a perspective on how strong conviction, when combined with these specific spiritual strategies, is believed to create this unstoppable momentum.
It really is. And maybe something for you, the listener, to think about is this. How might this idea, the devotionals, focus on inner strength and spiritual engagement as the main strategy, rather than getting bogged down in only the external fight? How might that shift your approach to obstacles?
Yeah.
Think about any big challenge, professional, personal, creative. What if focusing on your internal state, your core conviction, maybe seeking a different kind of wisdom or insight first? But what if that became your primary advantage, your way of becoming, in your own way, unstoppable when facing whatever hurdles come your way? Just something to consider.
For more information on how you can grow spiritually using Rhapsody of Realities, please visit our website, www.rhapsodyofrealities.org, or you can also visit rin.rhapsodyofrealities.org/salvation. Thank you.